those moments when your whole life is about to change, only you don't know it yet? Doesn't this feel like one already? This experience is remarkable, and this photo is of one of those moments in my life when everything was about to change. I had learned just 3.5 weeks earlier, that the orphanage we had been supporting when we did our work for sustainability in Kenya had swollen earlier to 1,400 children, way too many. It was impossibly crowded. We had done everything we could to help support the tragedies. We had had a garage sale, a car wash. We had had many ways to try to help, but everything was gone. And then one day, just 3.5 weeks before I was to return, I got an actual phone call that they were completely out of food, and they had been for 2 days. This hit me so personally, because I know what it's like to be a child and be hungry. Our family was one of those families that lived in between stops. I moved 32 times before I was 13 years old. And these things that I used to think of as the worst things actually turned out to be a theme that you're seeing here, a blessing of strength in disguise. But when I heard this, I had one instant response, and it was to hit my knees and plead for some kind of solution to be able to send more support. I said, please tell me anything. I will do it. Just tell me what to do. Nothing came to me, not even a bad idea, like the time we had a garage sale in October and it snowed and only 2 people came. Nothing. And I kept pleading like this until I fell asleep. And then I woke up at 2:30 in the morning with it going through my mind, have you asked what the girls are doing for feminine hygiene? I never even thought to ask that. I ran to the computer to email to ask, not expecting an instant answer back then. There weren't smartphones everywhere, but I got an instant answer, and it was nothing. They wait in their rooms. This is what their rooms look like. Can you tell the beds were side to side and end to end so that you had to crawl over the front beds to get to the back? And we were wanting to fix that. And now there were 1,400 kids at this orphanage. And there was no food. And I was returning in 3 weeks. And now I hear that they've been sitting in their room on pieces of cardboard for days. No way to leave the room, no way to go to class, and I knew that had to change too. And I have really good news. We were able to raise the resources to send for food, to send for other things they needed, and single-use disposable pads. But one of the blessings I had from having experienced poverty, that I knew that if we sent money for pads and they needed food, they would use that money for food, and we all would, and that's the right decision. So how do you make a solution they could count on month after month? I have amazing news. Hundreds of volunteers stepped beside us, and in just 3.5 weeks, we were able to make 500 Days for Girls kits. Have any of you made one before? Thank you. Massive effort. 3.5 weeks, 500 girls, and we were prepared to go and teach them that without periods, there would be no people. This is actually a superpower, not something to be ashamed of. But we weren't prepared for what they were about to teach us. You see, as we finished giving them their kits and they learned about their amazing bodies, cheers were still echoing off the tin roof. And then 10 of the girls came up and said, thank you so much. Because before you came, we had to let them use us if we wanted to leave the room and go to class. I was praying. That did not mean what I feared it meant, but they confirmed, these courageous girls, that they were being exploited in exchange for a single disposable pad. And this was the moment Days for Girls was born. They were about to teach me many things, but none of us knew in that moment that these 10 girls and their courage had just created the beginning of a global movement. because it turns out that 25% of women around the world do not have what they need for menstrual care. Who would have guessed? Lacking the safety and the dignity and the health of having what you need all over the world, in fact, where we are right now. What does a foster girl do? What does a woman without a home do? And what does a woman choosing between fuel in her tank to go to the next job interview and a pad choose? We can do better. And I have the best news. As you know, volunteers showed up all over. Now, some of the people, when I got home and told them what was happening, said I was crazy. And some of them said, how can I help? With this thing that is taboo to even talk about, they said, how can I help? And they stepped up, and when friends doubted, they said, ask where you are. And pretty soon in India, in Guatemala, all over the world, we need this too. And thankfully, people showed up to answer the call. All over the world, hugging their kids, dancing with their kids. My friend Alice in Kenya had experienced this and gathered her community, rallied, instructed her community in the training she got to be an ambassador of health, started an employment of Days for Girls enterprise, employs more than 20 people, and by herself with this team has reached, ready, 80,000 people in her community. These kits wash with little water, dry quickly. There's so many reasons for the designs, and I have other news. The first design was really awful, and I can say that because I designed it. They were white, and they of course would show a stain. I didn't think of that, but I knew to listen. And the people all over the world informed us, and we listened, and we stepped forward, and you could say we failed again and again, but I would say that we learned forward. And sometimes we're afraid to fail. We're afraid that if we take that step, we'll be the one to fall on our face. And guess what? That is the movement that creates miracles. Just take the next step. All over the world, remarkable individuals said, I'm in. I'll do it too. Even the men, because can you break a taboo that is global in proportions with only half of us? It connects us all. And women stepped up and helped their community have jobs and solve the issue for their taboo they faced all over the world. And in Nepal, do you know about the practice they face there? When you're on your period, there's a practice called chapati. And with this practice, you're considered untouchable when you're menstruating. And you can see how that could happen because everything we associate with blood is illness or injury, but they're asked to be in a shed for days. In Nepal, where the climate and snakes and trying to stay warm, asphyxiating are all dangers that can cause death. It's been against the law since 2005. It's been a finable offense since 2018, but it persists that I know of. The last one was 10 months ago that died in these sheds. If you've just had a baby, it's 10 to 20 days in the shed. But they're trying to protect their family because they believe they're untouchable. They believe they'll cause harm. They're trying to protect ill fortune in their community. I have great news. The women of Days for Girls and supporters of Days for Girls have rallied so that they're reaching people all over their community. Now I'm going to take just a pause for you to follow me for a minute along these trails. Can you see this small ribbon of gray in the very, very upper corner? Would we all agree that I have photographic evidence that from this path is a 1,000-foot drop? So we're walking along this path because you cannot take a vehicle, and I'm trying to ignore the fact that there is a 1,000-foot drop, and I say to the woman in front of me, these mountains are beautiful. And she says, oh no, these are not mountains, these are hills. Okay, by every definition I have ever known, these are for sure mountains. Oh no, these are hills. 2 days later, I took this photo out of the airplane window. Below the cloud cover are the hills I was walking on. And above the cloud level are the Sisters of Everest. When you live in the neighborhood of Everest, these are not mountains. These are mountains. They knew mountains I could not even imagine. And this is why we need to listen to each other and seek each other's wisdom, because we all see different mountains. Your experiences, your strengths, your weaknesses make you uniquely able to understand. They have reached more than 20,000 women and girls in their community, and volunteers all over the world have reached 3.5 million women and girls in 145 countries. This is Chief Teresa. Please look her up. She's a phenomenal world leader, and I got to walk beside her and others, and there's something you need to know. In 2008, I had a series of seizures that felt like snake bites and lightning bolts in my head. 45 minutes in the ER later, they stopped, but I could no longer walk without falling to the left. My eyes didn't work together. I could no longer read. I couldn't speak clearly. People didn't understand me even when I felt like it was clear. And this is what I hope that you leave with. That don't ever let anyone tell you you are not qualified to be the change you wish to be in the world. I was 47 years old when Days for Girls began. I had 6 beautiful children, thought I'd chosen my thing, went on to be a global CEO. I was the woman that could not read, and I went on to write an international bestselling and now national award-winning book. I was a girl with no shoes who walks beside world leaders all over this world. You are the change. And no season, no circumstance changes that. You are. If it's in your heart, it's already done. You've already done it. Just take the next best step. Thank you.